Good afternoon. It is now 4:03 p.m., and I'd like to call the Community Impact Grants Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Barron, Mackey,
Here.
English.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from November 12th, 2024.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next is the adoption of the agenda. I believe staff, do we have any changes? All right, I'll enter.
So moved, Madam Chair. Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? All right, Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, so we are at 4, which is items for discussion and action, which is the areas of impact on the Community Impact Grant application. Just a brief reminder of where we left off. At our last committee meeting, we reviewed the application, looked at our community partners list, and looked at the application as a whole with our schedule and questions. And so this body approved transition of community partners list, stating that we'll review those every 3 years, and we approved all the other parts of the application except for our areas of impact. And as a reminder, the Community Impact Grant process is still a relatively new process for the county as a whole, and it still continues to evolve. Every year, we continue to work to improve the application and make sure that it is addressing the true areas of needs or impact in our community, which is the essential reason for the grant application to begin with. And so if you turn to page 7 of your packet, staff listened to comments from our last meeting, and they now have narrowed down the impact areas to be more focused in 5 categories. And so if you recall, previously the application had very general, generic categories like education, housing, food insecurity, recreation, very broad. And we just talked about really wanting to focus in more, not overlapping or duplicating services that may already be being performed by other entities like education. And so these categories have been more refined to also match what's in our strategic plan that County Council approved. And so I will read these aloud and then open to have any discussions or comments. But as a reminder, this is the last piece of the application that we will need to take action on today to meet our deadline to release this to the public. The public's expecting this to go live on December 2nd, and so this would allow us to meet that deadline. So first category is programs to promote home ownership through education or financial planning and education. And so this is related to affordable housing initiative. Knowing that the grant award is small, we can't really look to give or provide funding for home purchase, but really focus on home ownership through education or financial planning. So looking to groups that can help folks prepare or assist them with getting to the being able to purchase a home. The second one is youth and recreational activities to reduce community violence and improve safety. This goes into, I'm sorry, Ms. Livingston, did you want to say something? I was going to read through them all and explain staff's thought.
But that's my question. What do you want to just go through all of them, or you want to just stop at one of them?
I was going to go through all of them holistically, and then everybody can chime in. So youth and recreational activities to reduce community violence and improve safety. This was in response to comments related to youth and recreation services. That was our previous category, which is very broad because we have a recreation department. And so this focused on youth and recreational activities to reduce community violence and improve safety, which is a concern, and safety is also included in our strategic plan. The third is programs to create sustainable childcare for working parents to further workforce development. Workforce development was previously a category that we had, but once again, we didn't really drill in and define it as such a large category. Food insecurity speaks for itself. And then veterans assistance to improve health and wellness. Previously, our area just said veteran services. So this is more specific. We want to look for organizations that are working with veterans to improve their health and wellness in our communities. So I will open it up. Any comments, discussion, or thoughts? Recognize Mr. Livingston.
Yes, on bullet two, youth recreation, violence and crime. I have some concern with that. A few funds. Recreation Commission, awful lot of money too. We have a sheriff department, and they are solely, focused on doing these things, and I just don't think that ought to be a top category. Now, if we're gonna talk about youth, I'd rather focus more on some kind of specific skills or talent or youth seminaring, something, technology, something more broadly focused that's not being done for the youth through recreation and sheriff department and so forth. So I'd like to, just try to figure out a way to reshape that one to focus more on something more specific that the youth is not getting.
Yes, sir. Would you be maybe looking to something for life skills or work preparedness? It could go into workforce development.
Workforce technology skills, stuff like that. Something that I think is kind of unique and it's not being done. Because, like I said, I recognize that's why I'm going to do those.
Yes, sir. All right. Vice Chair Pugh, you recognize.
Thank you, ma'am. Though I understand what Mr. Livingston is saying about us already having entities that kind of cover those bases, but we do have to keep in mind that we have other nonprofits in our city and in our community that help carry that heavy load that don't get a budget from Richland County, but provide a lot of services. So when we do decide to shape this one a little bit further, let's make sure we keep in mind that we don't put it out of the reach of those nonprofits that are helping carry the load.
You recognize Ms. English?
And I'm going to say this and then go back. I'm always looking at targeted disparities where we are reaching out to those that are less fortunate. And when I'm looking at these categories, I'm just kind of throwing the idea out there because I hear what both of you all are saying, but maybe we can give a priority to those that are working with those targeted disparities along with those skills, or put a priority on those. And so that way we're not excluding anybody, but we still have a priority area that's recognized.
Thank you, Ms. English. No, I definitely, I understand what you're saying. You're saying combine those. I'm not opposed to that. I think we want to be mindful that we do have an outside agency that reviews these and ranks these for us. And so when we are only calling out one impact area that requires additional ranking, one, I think it's an additional task for our reviewers, but then two, I do have concerns about if it's fair to the other categories because those aren't prioritized in that way. But I definitely understand what you're saying. You recognize Ms. Livingston?
Just going back, because I'm harping on quite a bit about the youth, about the recreation and violence issue there, because, see, I'd rather spend those time resources. I mean, when I went down to, for example, with the quantum computing and so forth, all those young people down there, learn about that kind of stuff. I'd rather we focus on those kind of things than focus on recreation that should be provided by those other entities. That's my point about that one, is figuring out some of those other ways.
Yes, sir. And so just a reminder, as we continue to have dialogue, ultimately, remember, we do need to define and take action on this language today so they can move forward and vote. So as we talk, at any point in given time, if you'd like to put out a motion, that would help. Or any other thoughts on any other categories? Are we all?
Well, I'd like to mention something that's not here.
Yes, sir.
I don't think there's any way in our community where we actually provide any direct support for senior services and resources. I only believe that there ought to be a category here.
Can you be a little bit more specific? So like, at Veterans Assistant, we said to improve health and wellness. So if you add senior assistance, would there be a specific category that you would focus on for seniors so that we can help define it a little bit more so it's not as broad?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Food insecurity covers everybody.
yes. I'll come up.
Any other thoughts or concerns related to any of these other categories listed? All right, I'll make a motion to approve programs to promote home ownership through education on financial planning and education for one of our impact areas.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston. Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
You recognize.
I'd like to make a motion on youth activities to reduce community violence and improve safety, taking out the word recreation.
Second for discussion. I'm sorry, Derek.
Oh, you're fine.
Well,
Y'all, we got in the
died.
You almost did. I was letting it breathe for a little bit.
I was reading too, I'm sorry.
All right, we have a second for discussion.
Yeah. Madam Chair.
You recognize. Vice
Again,
Chair
a few
Pugh.
minutes ago, just like I said, I do understand where Mr. Livingston comes from. We give a healthy amount of money to the Recreation Department and the Sheriff's Department as well. But I want to make sure that I make it clear that it's other nonprofits that help carry that load that don't have access, that we need to make sure that we don't box them out, because the Recreation Department has its own priorities as well as the Sheriff's Department have their own priorities. And even though they have those intervention programs that help youth and get them involved, they can't touch every youth in Richland County. And so we want to make sure that we're aware of that. And I want to use this for an example. We give a lot of money to a lot of people. And for instance, with Mr. Livingston, you just said that we don't have any resources for citizens, senior citizens, when it comes to feeding or activities for them. But that kind of ranks in the same department as the money and the funds that we give to senior resources. So we can't on one hand say that we don't want these categories because these certain entities already get money from us, and we want to use that in a different direction, and then turn around and say we want to give money to not senior resources, but to the seniors, and we give money to senior resources. So we got to make sure we got some type of balance when it comes to the reasons why we just say we don't want certain categories.
You recognize.
My concern, Mr. Pugh, with that is, if you don't include senior resources here, you would not be providing any funding for seniors, because this is where it came from, if it remained the way it is. So that's why I was making that point.
I guess just to bring up again, with the Community Impact Grant Committee, I think we have to be mindful, we created it to really make an impact. And so the purpose of this is also to make sure that we aren't being so broad, because what has happened is we've been so broad that we aren't focused in areas where we can actually truly see that impact. And so oftentimes, when you put out all these objectives and what you want to do, you can't really focus in. And so the point of the areas were to really make sure we focus in on some key areas that we hopefully can impact change. And then these impact areas, in 2 years from now, maybe we then can change to other impact areas because we've seen improvements in some of these areas, and now we want to use our funds to impact something else. And so I do want to make sure that we understand whatever it is that we put in the impact areas, we really want to focus on what we want to see a return on, and understand, just like, recreation or the sheriff's department, we too cannot fund everybody. And so we just want to make sure that these impact areas that we list are as focused as possible, so that when folks look at it, they know what the areas are that the county wants to focus on, and they know how to respond. And then that we will also get the reports, and we can see from these nonprofits that receive the grants how they're utilizing them, and hopefully we can see the shift and change in our community. And that could mean improved workforce development for youth, or it could mean reducing the number of families that are dependent upon, that are experiencing food insecurity. And so those are the kind of impacts we want to see. And so I think as we go through it, just making sure we're thinking about the right words to really focus in on those areas. Mr. Pugh made a motion for the second impact area to be youth
Activities.
Thank you. To reduce community violence and improve safety. And Ms. English second for discussion, so we are having discussion.
Could you kind of recite that to me again?
I said I made a motion to approve youth activities to reduce community violence and improve safety. So we took out the recreation portion of it. I don't know how much that would help us define this a little bit more, but I just want to continue to echo that. I know it's a plethora of other nonprofits that help support these activities in the community, and we just don't want to leave them out there on the island and not have them, give them the opportunity to be able to apply for these funds.
I guess, Mr. Pugh, would you accept an amendment to include youth activities to reduce community violence, improve safety, and workforce skills?
I would happily accept that friendly amendment.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Recognize.
I think we need to be more in-depth when with this motion outside of workforce development? Or you think that'll cover all the bases that we need?
Workforce skills.
It'll help me, because what I want to slide in there and to make it, and the way you stated it'll work, I want to make sure we include technology and computing skills, but that could be a part of that, see.
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
I wanted to pause for a minute. You good? Okay. All right, so we have 3 remaining. Make a motion to approve programs to create sustainable childcare for working parents to further workforce development.
Second, Madam Chair.
Motion and second, any discussion? Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes,
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to approve food insecurities.
Motion and second, any discussion?
Madam Chair,
You recognize, Ms. English.
I'd just like, not this year, but in the future, just kind of be able to kind of flush out targeted disparities. And I just kind of wanted to make that on the record so that we can do a little more focusing on that area as well, but not this year. Because we have, another year to go, right?
No, I mean, what do you mean another year?
I mean, the impact grants now, the ones that we have now,
The ones that we have now, they're in the midst of doing them. And then this new application is for fiscal year '26. Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
I'd like to make a motion to approve veteran assistance to improve health and wellness.
second.
Motion is second, any discussion?
Yeah, I know that's brief like we wanted, but, it's just that I probably want to do more than that for the, I'm not sure I want to just limit it to health and wellness, though.
Well, what other things would you like to focus on? Just remember that, this is a category where the award is a max of $50,000. So I think we have to be mindful too of what folks can actually do realistically. Just a reminder, this application goes live December 2nd, sir. So your now is,
No pressure, huh?
okay, I'm just making sure we all on the same page of what your now means.
Madam Chair,
All right, you recognize Vice Chair Pugh.
I totally understand where Mr. Livingston is coming from. This seems like such a simple just motion and it's kind of a little bit broad. I would have thought about adding housing to it, but we already got it. The program up top that's going to promote education for financial planning and home ownership. So I just wanted to make that.
Any further? Just. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
I was thinking about a category, do we? All right, yes for now, yeah.
Okay.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes,
Motion approved.
All right, so that is all that's proposed. Mr. Livingston, did you have any additional thoughts on an additional impact area you wanted to add related to senior citizens?
The reason why it's so broad is because there's no, if they were not receiving it. I'm saying it's so hard to make it specific because there's no agency that's really doing anything other than what we're currently funding with impact funds for seniors resources, for seniors.
Well, Ms. Livingston, I think, we should probably look at it in the reverse and not think about necessarily an agency, but more so think about what is it that we feel seniors in our community need, that we believe ties to our strategic plan and is an impact area. And so if it is, senior citizen assistance to improve workforce skills, or what particular area do you feel like the community needs? I think is how we should be thinking about this, not about an organization.
Well, see, the reason it's hard to be specific because I'm talking about even what's being provided now is just opportunity for them to socialize, interact with other individuals and stuff like that, center setup, things of that particular nature. It's many things. That's why I said service and resources for seniors, because I couldn't, it covers so many things that you needed.
Recognized.
One of the things, I know Department on Aging does a lot in this area, and they're still kind of regrouping after, because it used to be under the Lieutenant Governor's office, and now they are a standalone agency. So they do a lot with seniors. We've been working with them for a long time. So maybe we can those interact or kind of pair those two.
And the Recreation Department does things with seniors as well through their adult activity centers. So there are organizations that offer those things.
Madam Chair,
Sure, yes.
as you all continue to think through that, could you take a few moments and recognize Director Wilkerson? We want to get a little clarifying language just to make sure we have the information appropriate on the application.
Recognize Director Wilkerson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of clarifying points. So on the first one, I feel like we have education twice, so I just want to make sure it's acceptable to have this on the application as follows: programs to promote home ownership through education on financial planning. Is that appropriate? And then on number two, youth activities to reduce community violence, improve safety, and develop workforce skills. I just felt like we needed another adjective there. Is that acceptable as well?
Now, do we need to say?
Are you good with develop work? The improve, you would prefer it to be what?
Well, I think if I'm working with
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
That was all.
Okay, well, I think we have addressed all impact areas. So we have 5 impact areas, unless Mr. Livingston has a 6th that he wants to make a motion on. Well, this was the only item on our agenda, and so I appreciate y'all for providing your input on this. As we stated, all the other pieces of the application were approved at the last committee meeting. So this was the last piece. I think this conversation was good for our nonprofits listening to get an idea and understanding of where it is that we're going with community impact grants and how we're looking to really make an impact in our community. So I thank you. And we are at item number 5.
Second.
A motion and a second for adjournment. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.